After trotting for some time through winding corridors, Nanda stopped at the threshold of a chamber that was emitting a faint, almost mesmerizing glow. After everything she'd seen today, the shifting sands of the past, the hazy threads of the future, this chamber felt too serene, too calm. It unsettled her. Another cryptic room, she muttered under her breath as she stepped cautiously inside. Fantastic. Just what I needed. As Nanda moved deeper into the space, a warm golden light began to spread through the room. Unlike the eerie light from her earlier trials, this one felt softer, more inviting. But Nanda wasn't fooled. The glow wasn't comforting. It felt like a challenge. It felt like another test, and she was growing tired of tests. The walls were covered in the usual and now expected carvings of gods, mortals, creatures, and symbols she barely understood. But there was something else. Intertwined royal sigils and celestial alignments that spoke of an ancient ruler. The pharaoh's presence was unmistakable, his will etched into the very stone. The same pharaoh whose obsession with controlling time had tied his fate to the scarab, and by extension, Shempu. Nanda's mind raced as the pieces clicked into place. Shempu had always been more than a rogue sorcerer. He was an enforcer of the pharaoh's will. His connection to the scarab and the pharaoh's relentless pursuit of time manipulation were the driving forces behind everything. Of course, Nanda muttered, scanning the symbols. Shempu was doing the pharaoh's dirty work. I should have known. Above her, the ceiling glittered like the night sky, a constellation map. For a moment, Nanda traced the stars with her eyes, feeling a flicker of awe, a dangerous indulgence. She quickly shoved that emotion aside. She was here for answers, not stargazing. At the far end of the room, a stone dais elevated a massive golden sarcophagus. It radiated power, its surface alive with etched symbols. Flanking it were statues. Also, as expected in an ancient temple, godly figures watching her every move. Anubis, Horus, Sekhmet, and Thoth. Silent, imposing, their eyes piercing. Well, Nanda murmured, eyeing the statues, this just screams friendly conversation. She felt an unspoken anticipation for her next move. The scarab seemed to get warmer, and to hum in her ear, offering no advice, only its usual cryptic resonance. Still, she couldn't ignore the pull. It had guided her this far, through trials that had tested her in ways she hadn't expected. It had become more than a tool. It had become part of her. But she was beginning to wonder how much more of herself she had left to give. With a sigh of annoyance more than fear, Nanda padded slowly toward the dais, her movements deliberate, scanning every inch of the chamber for hidden traps. As soon as she reached her target, the statue stirred and she froze, her fur bristling as the god's eyes glowed with an ethereal light. Anubis was the first to speak, his voice deep and resonant, like thunder through a storm. You've passed the trials of time, Nanda, he said, his gaze unnervingly intense. But now, you must confront what lies beyond. Nanda snorted, whiskers twitching with dark amusement. Of course. There's always something beyond. You couldn't just hand me a medal and call it a day, could you? Sekhmet's voice, fierce and cutting, echoed through the chamber. You seek more than power. You seek truth. But to obtain it, you must face yourself. Nanda raised an eyebrow, her tail flicking. Facing myself, huh? Sounds fun. Do I get snacks afterward, or is that too much to ask? Horus stepped forward, his falcon eyes gleaming as they locked onto hers. This is not a trial of time, Nanda. This is a trial of self. You've seen the past, present, and future, but what do you see when you look into the heart of time? Nanda's intended sarcastic reply did not leave her mouth. What did she see? She'd been so focused on surviving the trials, on navigating time's labyrinth, that she hadn't considered the deeper question. Who had she become through all of this? Was she just a pawn in some grand game, or something more? The answer danced just out of reach. Thoth's calm voice broke the silence. The scarab is not just an artifact. It reflects the soul of its bearer. To master it, you must first know who you truly are. Nanda blinked, her chest tightening. It was easy for these gods to speak wisdom, but they weren't the ones living through this. They weren't bearing the weight of time and choices that could change everything. Look, Nanda said, her voice tight. I get that you're wise and powerful and all, but I've done what you asked. I've faced the past, the present, the future, What more do you want from me? Anubis gestured toward the sarcophagus, his jackal eyes glowing faintly. Look inside. The heart of the temple holds a secret, one that has been hidden for eons. It is not for us to reveal. Only you can unlock it. Nanda's gut tightened as she glanced at the sarcophagus. Oh, of course, she muttered. Nothing ominous in there at all. Still, she couldn't resist. She knew, deep down, that this was the final step. Whatever lay inside held the answer she'd been searching for, though she wasn't sure she was ready for it. With a deep breath, Nanda placed her paws on the sarcophagus. The stone was colder than she expected, and it took all her strength to push the lid open. It groaned as it shifted aside, revealing a mirror. Nanda blinked in disbelief. Of all the things she'd expected, treasure, relics, maybe even bones, a mirror hadn't even made the list. She stared at her reflection. Her wide, pretty green eyes stared back at her, unblinking. Really? She said aloud. A mirror? This better be one hell of a metaphor. But as she gazed deeper, something strange happened. The edges of her reflection blurred, shifting through time. She saw herself as a kitten, playing in the streets. Her tiny white chest fur, which as a kitten had been just a tiny white heart, just beginning to grow in. Then the image of herself during the trial of the past flickered, desperate to change fate. And again during the trial of the present, standing firm between chaos and peace. Then, the reflection showed her as she could be. Older, wiser, powerful, yet burdened. The images whirled faster. Her life, her choices, laid bare before her. Nanda's breath caught as she watched it all. The kitten she had been, the cat she had become, and the creature she might yet be. Well, she murmured softly, her voice barely audible. That's a lot. Her heart raced as she stared into the mirror, her mind spinning just as quickly. Was this really her fate? To carry this burden alone? To wield the scarab's power, knowing every choice she made could reshape time itself? The gods had gone silent, their glowing eyes watching her without judgment, but Nanda felt their presence pressing down on her. She wasn't sure what they expected her to do. All right, she said finally, her voice rough but steady. I get it. This isn't about the trials. It's about me. The mirror's surface emitted with a soft glow, as if to acknowledge her realization. Nanda took a step back, a mix of frustration and acceptance churning inside of her. She had faced gods, traversed time, battled her own doubts, and now it all came down to this, a reflection of herself, of her journey, of her choices. It was infuriating, poetic, and, if she were being honest, a little cliché. Of course it's about self-discovery, she muttered, turning away from the mirror. It always is, isn't it? How very after-school special. But there was something profound in the way the mirror had shown her not just what she was, but what she could become. Nanda couldn't deny it, it unsettled her. The trials hadn't been about power or control over time. They had been leading her to this moment, to confront her own fears, her own limits. She paced in front of the sarcophagus, her mind a whirlwind. The gods remained silent, watching, waiting. Nanda wasn't sure how long she stood there, processing the weight of everything she had seen. Eventually, the stillness became too much. You know, she said aloud, her voice echoing in the chamber, it wouldn't hurt for one of you to offer some advice here. Maybe a little insight from the all-knowing deities? Nothing. The gods remained as still as stone. Nanda sighed heavily. Figures. Silence is golden, they say. Apparently, so are cryptic tests. Despite herself, a small smirk tugged at the corners of her mouth. She knew she was stalling, avoiding the inevitable decision. But this was a big moment, the culmination of everything she had fought for. She had a right to be cautious. Her mind flicked back to the trials, the choices she had made, the sacrifices she had been forced to endure. She had expected some grand reward at the end of it all. But now, standing at the precipice, she wasn't sure she wanted it. The scarab had granted her power, yes, but also responsibility. Was she truly ready to carry the weight of time, to bear the burden of knowing that every action rippled across eternity? I didn't ask for this, she whispered, her voice softer now, almost vulnerable. I just wanted answers. I didn't want all of this. In her heart, Nanda knew that no one had asked for this. Not her, not the gods, not the mortals who had once sought their favor. It was just the way things were. Time moved forward, and with it came challenges, choices, responsibilities. No one was immune, not even a tuxie cat with a cute sense of humor and a heavy heart. She glanced back at the mirror, still glowing faintly in the sarcophagus. It no longer showed her shifting forms, her past and future selves. Now it was just a reflection, her reflection. "What do you think, huh?" she asked her mirrored self, her tone half joking, half serious. "Do we take this leap, or do we walk away and let someone else play hero for once?" The reflection didn't answer, of course, but in the silence that followed, Nanda felt something settle within her. The trials had never been about winning or losing. They had been about understanding herself, her place in the universe, and the choices she would make moving forward. Nanda straightened, her green eyes flashing with determination. "Fine, let's do this." She approached the mirror again, but this time, she didn't see it as a barrier. It was a door, an invitation to step into the unknown, to embrace the power that had been offered to her. She could feel the scarab thrumming against her chest, its warmth growing more insistent. "I hope you know what you're doing," she muttered quietly, more to the scarab than to herself. "Because if this goes wrong, it's all on you." And then, without another word, she placed her paw on the surface of the mirror. The room exploded with light. It wasn't painful, but it was overwhelming. The golden glow filled the chamber, consuming everything in its path. Nanda squeezed her eyes shut, heart racing, as the power of the scarab surged through her. It felt like 1,000 voices whispering at once, telling her secrets, showing her visions of what could be, what had been, and what might never come to pass. For a moment, she was everywhere and nowhere, caught between the threads of time. The enormity of eternity pressed down on her, the infinite possibilities stretching before her. It was both intoxicating and terrifying. Then it came to an abrupt stop. Nanda blinked, her vision clearing. She was still in the chamber, the gods' statues watching her, but something had shifted. She could feel it. Something deep inside her had changed. The power of the scarab wasn't just something she carried anymore. It was part of her. She had become one with it. "Well," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. "That was intense." The gods remained silent, but Nanda could sense their approval. They had been watching, waiting to see if she would pass this final test. And she had. She had faced the heart of the temple and herself, and emerged stronger. "Is that it then?" she asked, turning toward the statues. "Am I done?" Anubis stepped forward, his jackal eyes gleaming with something that almost resembled pride. "You have passed the final trial, Nanda. The heart of the temple has revealed itself to you. You are now its keeper." Nanda snorted softly, shaking her head. Keeper of the temple. Not exactly what I had in mind when I woke up this morning, but hey, I'll take it. Horus's voice, calm and wise, followed. "You have proven yourself worthy, not just of the scarab's power, but of the knowledge it carries. Use it wisely. Time is a gift, but it is also a burden." Nanda met his gaze, her green eyes steady. "I get it. Believe me, I do." The god's eyes dimmed, their glowing light fading into the stone once more. The chamber seemed quieter, more peaceful, as if the weight of time had lifted just a little. Nanda took a deep breath, feeling the scarab's warmth against her chest. She wasn't sure what the future held for her, but for the first time in a long time, she felt ready. "Well," she said, glancing around the chamber one last time, "I suppose it's time to get out of here." As she padded toward the exit, a faint smile tugged at her lips. "And maybe, just maybe, I'll get that snack I was talking about." With that, Nanda stepped into the light, ready to face whatever came next.